What's up, everybody? It's your main man, Juggernaut of Multi-Platinum Production Crew, Arkatech Beatz.
Arkatech Beatz.
Welcome to the music production and beat making live stream. We get on every night to cook up, make some tracks, answer questions about the music business, help artists move forward, learn about this game, learn some techniques as it relates to doing music production and making beats. And, we're here, you know what I mean? So, I'm on a little late tonight. And, hope everybody had a good holiday, Memorial Day. So, that's part of the reason why I'm on a little late. Because I had a long day today. Definitely a groove, you know what I mean? What up, homie? Yeah, I'm on late, but I'm here. Trying to remain consistent, you know what I mean? Lay that snare down. Swagger, what up though? Asking what up? Nah, not Vado. Shout out to everybody that's in the live. We're on late tonight. Holiday weekend. What up, man? Santana, what's happening? Shout out to everybody that's in the live, man. We all late tonight, man. You know, holiday weekend. They say y'all liking the live, sharing the live. I hear that sample. Y'all hear where it's going, right? All right, let's let this beat down. Let's go. Let's break the beat down, right? We start with this sample right here. Y'all hear that, right? It's beautiful. Got the elements that you want. Bass line, piano, string line. So what we gotta do with this is we gotta find a way to bring out those individual instruments, especially when we don't have the stems. So in some cases, we may have to replay that piano. We may have to replay the strings on top of it. If we want the bass to grovel, we either have to filter it or we have to add bass line on top of it. All right. The next track is going to be the hi-hats, right? A little bit of velocity on it, high, low, right? And we're gonna go to I just added another little hat on top of that, on every 4. Right. Open hat, right? Snare on it, right? And what we did with that snare is we tuned it up a little bit. So I'm still going to wind up putting maybe a little bit of parametric EQ on it. Probably get the mids a little bit tighter because I kind of want it to cut through so that you really hear it pop. All right, so I think that's really like the main thing, is trying to make sure that that snare is going to pop through the mix. Maybe a little bit of reverb on it at the very end. All right. E. Santana, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for the gift. To the drum, and listen, the kick drum is probably one of the more important parts of this track. All right, so you know, I got a few kicks in here. Now, which kick do I want to stand out? That's going to really pump. You know, like you really want it to like what's the best way that I can explain it? The best way that I can explain it is that you want the kick to be round enough and full enough so that it kind of keeps the beat moving. Ashkin is asking me, do I try to humanize the drums? It depends. You know what I mean? Like, it depends on if the track requires it. So I think in every instance is different. If you have a sample, if you have a sample that doesn't really follow a certain level of quantization, and if it feels like it's kind of moving a little bit, then you might want to play with the drums a little bit to kind of give it a little bit more of a human feel. It all depends on how you are trying to program and what your individual style is. Sometimes I may do a little bit of quantization where it may give it a little bit more swing. It just depends on what the track is doing or what the sample is doing. If I have a sample that's a little bit more complex, that's not falling on the one or not falling on the grid, then we start playing with the humanization to kind of make up for those inconsistencies in the sample. So everything is kind of, when you're a sample-based producer, that's what you have to kind of play with. You have to work with your foundation, which is your sample. Now, if you're making beats from scratch, of course, you can do whatever you want to do in terms of your timing, whatever, because it's up to you. You know, you're creating it from scratch. You're creating the groove. So it's up to you how you might want to do that. So now what I want to do here is I want to copy this, make it into 8 bars. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this sample now play for the full 8 and not for 4. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to erase the second note here. Sometimes I just record over it, but today I'm going to do it from the inside here. Delete that note there. And we're going to play that strip. See, when you have a sample that's doing that much, man, you got to make it do what it do. So look, Dom is asking me when I have a sample. Dom is hitting me from X. This is a question coming in from X. He's asking, when I do the beats like this one with a sample, do you do this based on how I'm feeling or whatever comes to mind? It's a combination of the two, you know, because I had this sample last night. I just didn't get a chance to get to it because we were on the live late last night, so I couldn't get a chance to get to it. And the record that we did last night was like, well, I still have it in here, as a matter of fact. Let me play the one we did last night. All right, so the one we did last night was this one.
Arkatech Beatz.
Hello, Talker. I appreciate you. It was a vibe last night. So that was what we was working on last night. And I had this other sample in here, and I just couldn't I couldn't transition my mood, like to your point, from that sample to this sample. I felt like I wasn't gonna do it any justice. So I just said, let me just wait. You know what I'm saying? And then let me come back to it today with fresh ears. And that's what I wound up doing. So it really was kind of how I felt. So it's kind of dictated on how I feel. So when I'm looking for samples or I'm looking to find what sound I'm gonna do today, like, you know, it's based off how you feel. Like, you know, I can really attest to that. Try to add that in the reverse symbol. Yeah, but the tempo was so dramatic from one beat to the next. It was like, man, I couldn't get into the vibe. The other one was just going. The other one felt like a freight train. It was the speed of it, and with the pianos and the strings, and it was just doing so much. I was like, man, I couldn't. I just felt like I couldn't do the new beat any justice. Chad, I need a name for this beat. The last beat was called Superior Swag. So I need a name for this beat, and then I'm gonna start breaking it up. Cloud 8, I like that. Daisy Dukes. It's art rated, I like that. In the arpeggio at the 8th bar. Let me listen to that again. Shout out to everybody that's liking the live. Shout out to everybody that's sharing the live. I need to make this sample have a little bit more. loafers. I like that. Remember, it's asking is all one sample, so I can't necessarily put an individual effects on one instrument or individual note. You know what I mean? Like you can do a pad, you can do you can do an instrument, one particular channel. Depending on sometimes if you want to have an effect on one individual note, you would probably need to separate that sound, put the note on a separate channel, and then put the effects on that one channel. And then when that note triggers, then it would have the effects on it. Daisy Duke said it should be named Art Rated. I kind of like that, but let me sit on that. Bally Loafers. Cloud 8 is another name. Somebody said name it Exodus. I like that too. Shout out to everybody that's in the live. Main man Juggernaut of Multi-Platinum Production Crew, Arkatech Beatz. Shout out to my partner Mike Trauma D. You know what I mean? Big Pun Nas, Jadakiss, The Game, Killer Mike, Freddie Gibbs, Max B, Saha the Prince. Now, what up? Make sure y'all sharing the live, man. Make sure you like the live. It's 11:12. Eastern Standard Time. Dom said, Alley Boy, El Dorado Red. Listen, you got to be from Atlanta to know those guys. Only the Atlanta ones know about that. Trouble DTE and all of that. Shorty Low, Lil Scrappy, Waka Flocka. You know what I'm saying? Our resume is long, man. I hope people realize that. When they be coming on TikTok and they be looking, they say, hey, who is that? And they be like, yo, can I get a free, what you call it? I'm like, yo, you don't look at the bio to see who it is. You know? But let's add a string to this. Because I hear it in the sample. I think we should add one in just to kind of bring out the hook. We want to make sure that we have something that has a delineation between the hook and the verses. All right? You want to make sure you do that and structure your songs correctly so that when people get your tracks and say you're not in the room, they don't have to be guessing, well, where's the hook? I don't know where the hook is at. So we want to make sure that there's a clear difference between the hooks and verses. When you hear the verse, you know it's a verse. When you hear the hook, you know it's a hook. And really, it's just a matter of just adding on, a few sounds to just bring out what's already in the sample. Because I already hear a very, very soft string. What we'll do is we'll put something on top of it to match the same, to match it, and then we'll bring it from there. Man, somebody said they was bumping the live last night out their car and people was jamming out the window. Listen, that's dope. Like, that's dope to hear that people is rocking to the music like that. That's what it's meant to do. If you can make a person Move to your music, man. Mission accomplished, man. If it can invoke an emotion, mission accomplished. That's E minor. Get back to the strings. I see some people in the chat. Hold on 1 second. Let me answer some questions. How did I get into music producing game? Did I grow up playing instruments, listening to different types of music from one day? So, true story. If anybody know part of our story is that our family is Jamaican. You know what I'm saying? So, my parents came from Jamaica. I'm born here in the Bronx, Harlem. Harlem, and then born, moved to the Bronx. And what my mom's did for me and my brothers, because I got a younger brother and an older brother, she put a piano in the house. I don't know what made her buy a piano and put it in that living room. And they used to try to send us to piano lessons. And I used to hate going to piano lessons. Like, I hated piano lessons. I hated it. I used to try to do anything to get out of that. Hated piano lessons. And then, I got introduced to some rap music by my older brother when I was really young. And then I'm like, okay, I really like this rap music. But I never really thought about, like, producing. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't think about that. But what really caused me to start to produce was because as I got into rap music, I wanted to rap. And then I used to be going around the Bronx trying to find guys to see if they can give me some beats. And I'm going to every hood in the Bronx. I'm in Eden Wall Projects. I'm over there in Boston Secor. I'm over there in Eastchester Projects, Gun Hill Houses. I'm on the other side of Fordham Road. I'm all over the place trying to find guys that make beats. You know what I mean? But nobody really wanted to give me no music. Like, that was the main thing. Nobody really wanted to give you music back then. So I had to just save up my own bread, and then I wound up buying a sampler. My older sister helped me buy a sampler, and then I started trying to get some equipment, and I was going to studio with some of my with an older guy, my brother's friend. Shout out to Infinity Free, and I start kind of learning from him, and then that's when I started learning how to make the beats. I was making beats to rap on, and then the beats just started sounding better and better, and I'm like, okay. So then I said, you know what? I'm gonna stop rapping. I'm gonna start buying more equipment and try having a studio, and then start bringing other artists through. And I started to try to start a label back then. So it was really weird, like trying to start a label. And Mike now was my cousin was going to Institute of Audio Research, and then he started interning at Loud, and then we started making these beat tapes. So once we started making those beat tapes, then he started playing them at the office. He started playing them for like Pawn and Havoc and stuff like that. And then the rest really is history. So like how we really got into it was more like, it was like a necessity. I wanted to do something. I couldn't get anybody to do it, so I had to learn how to do it myself. And that was really what really kind of spurred the whole thing of getting into music production to begin with. So when we say what the timeline is, so the timeline is like the timeline from when I got my first piece of equipment. I got my first piece of equipment really right after I crashed my car. I got into a bad car accident, totaled my car, and I was stuck in the crib that summer. So I wind up buying. That's when I wind up buying the sampler. I have, my sister had gave me her car, and I wound up crashing it. And then once I crashed the car, I was stuck in the house. You know what I mean? I couldn't go nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Couldn't see my girl, nothing like that. It was a wrap. So then I wound up saying, man, I just want to make music this summer. And that was really the summer that changed everything. So I had a Akai SO1 sampler. I had this Alesis sequencer and a few other things, and then I wind up getting some more equipment. I wind up buying like an ASR and stuff, and started just building out the studio. And then my parents let me put the studio inside of the living room of the house, and then I used to have the entire hood coming through. So when we look at like a timeline, I would say, when did I start? I maybe started when I was like 21, and then 21 when I really started to kind of put the beats together, like 2021. And honestly, we didn't really get we got our first placement like maybe like, you figure, what's that? I'll be 22. 22 when I got all the equipment. By the time I was 24, we was on Pun album. You know what I mean? It was like, so really 2 years. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just like it was 2 years of really just, because it was between me going to school and then me going to school and then, trying to do stuff in between. And like as a sample-based producer, man, like being able to play and read music, I think it helps. It helps, but I really prefer sample-based music. Like I really did. Like although I could, work my way around the keys and all of that stuff, it's like I really just prefer sample-based music. Listen, like I would tell people like this, man. Using sample-based music will get your music like this is a cheat code, and I know a lot of producers are gonna hate me for saying this shit, but the cheat code to this is like this. If you're using sample-based music, it's the fastest way to get your music to sound commercially viable, right? Because think about it, you're removing a big part of the process of having to mix the initial master of the record, right? So let's say, for example, I decided to play this whole thing over. I would have to have the guitar, I would have to have the keys, I would have to have all of the individual instruments broken out into separate tracks. Now we got to mix all of those things together to make that have a sonic cohesion, right? That's the main issue. That's the main issue with a lot of guys' music is that, okay, we're trying to get a certain level of fidelity, and we're trying to get a certain level of loudness. We're trying to get a certain level of a feel, right? And then people say, hey, I got to master my music. I got to this, I got to that. When you kind of using sample-based music, you kind of avoid all of that. you avoid all of that. So like literally the music bed is already secure for you. So now all we got to do is we just got to just add in, certain percussive instruments. And then if we want to add on stuff that highlights the instruments that are already there, okay. But what we're doing is we're drastically reducing the amount of mixing. We're drastically reducing the amount of things that we have to mix and EQ together. Like that's kind of like the cheat code of it. But I know some people say, well, I don't want to do that. I want to listen. It takes longer to learn how to basically, because remember what you're dealing with. Each instrument has a different type of sonics and fidelity. So every time you have a new instrument, if you're not going to the same sets of sounds, if you're using different sounds all the times, you have to find where those things fit in the mix of each piece of music that you do. Now that takes a lot of time. Yep. So the magic is in mixing the sample with the choice of sonics. Like that is the magic. You know what I'm saying? And the quicker that you can train your ear to that, then you can actually start to make music that's going to sound sonically ready a lot faster. Yeah, man, that accident changed my life, man. I ain't gonna hold you. Like that accident, like it really changed my life. It really shouldn't have happened the way that it did happen. You know what I mean? But it really did change my life because then the money that I got from that settlement, I used that to press up a record for my man. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Sean Anthony Baker. You know, we pressed up that record. That's the first record that I heard. Our record was on the radio with Funkmaster Flex and all of that. And he wound up getting his record deal from that. And then, we went through a bunch of mixes and changes with that. But then now, he's a television actor now. He's on TV. You know what I'm saying? You can go watch him on Swagger on Apple TV. You know what I mean? How much for a decent sampler? This is a decent sampler, man. Sky, what I would tell you to do is go to arkatechbeatz.com, and then there's in the middle of our website, you're going to see a studio gear list. Just click on that, and that's our recommendations. You go between this, you go between this, you go between that, or the MPC, and you go between the Live 2. If you can afford the MPC X, I would go that route. If you want to go to Live 2, you go that route, because Live 2 has a little bit of what you call it. Listen, Ableton, man, I liked Ableton, man. I really did. I like Ableton. I want people to understand this. Like, I use Ableton. I've used FL Studio. I've used Serato Studio, right? I've used Machine, right? So I have all of these things that I've used. I got a Nakai Fire right here, the FL Studio Fire. I got, you know what I mean? Like I've used all of this stuff, and what seems to work for me, and this is all I'm saying, is the MPC. The MPC to me just seems to feel better for me, but that's just where I'm at right now. I really like Serato. I really like it. It's very simple to use. Very, very simple. It's almost like FL. Very simple to use. Serato has great sounds. Serato has great sample manipulation and control. Love that. What's that says? S. Palsy. Listen, he says he feels like the DAW is stifling him. That's what I felt. I felt like the DAW was stifling me. I felt like the FL Studio was kind of pushing me into a certain type of cookie cutter way of making music, and I had to get away from that for a little while. No knock to it, you know what I mean? Because it's very powerful. And truth be told, I use FL Studio to teach my kids just the mechanics of counting bars and, just the things to learn, introduction to music business, or in music, making music production rather. It's difficult. It's difficult if we're not setting it up right. You know what I mean? The MPC. If you follow along with the tutorial that I'm doing, and I'm just doing the stuff, I have the samples and stuff, and I break it down track by track. You'll see it's a lot easier than you think it is. Chocolate Boy One is asking, do I need to clear all the samples? No, I don't need to clear no samples. These samples are royalty free, brother. We ain't clearing no more samples. Them days over. Oh, wait. Listen, no disrespect to anybody that's digging for records. I've done that. I've done that very early in my career, digging for records, going into dusty shops, going into Salvation Armies, going into record stores, climbing up ceilings of records. I did all of that. I saw a video. I saw a video the other day from Peter Guns, right? And Peter Guns had that really big record. Him and Peter Guns and Lord Tariq had that big record. If it wasn't for the Bronx, the rap stuff wouldn't be going on. Where you from? Uptown, baby, right? They said that they put the record out, and then when it was time to sample it, time to clear the sample. This is a big record now. This was one of the biggest records in New York at the time. They went to clear the record, and homie took 100% of the record. Steely Dan and them, they took 100% of the record. They said they took so much of the sample, they didn't even give Peter Guns and them writers credit on that album, on that song. So, what I refuse to do in 2025 is I refuse to give these guys, portions of the record. Like, why would I have to do that? Like, when there's so many other resources that I could use that don't ask for anything. Why would I take myself and put myself in a situation and trying to find some sort of, elaborate sample? It can't find an elaborate sample. Every sample that's been out there has been used to some capacity. And then the more obscure the sample is a risk that you take. It's a risk that it doesn't clear. And then there's also a risk that they'll take all the people. You can't just resample, because even when you resample, you still got to pay for it. So either you sample or you don't sample. There's no way to take a sample and resample it, and you can take it and try to cut it up, chop it up, and slow it down and do all of that stuff. But now you lose what you was trying to sample for. You know what I mean? So, truth be told, I would just suggest to people to use royalty-free sources. I've been on live for almost 40 days, and those are all royalty-free. You can listen to them, and you can tell me how those sound. When you come back, go back and listen to all of those tracks for the last 40 days on my YouTube, and you tell me you tell me if you could tell the difference if it came from a record or where it came from. You tell me if you know the difference. I'll wait. Yeah, there's no point, man. There's no point in sharing your publishing. There's no point in doing all of that. There's no point in taking the risk of me taking a record, getting it with a major artist, and then I have to worry about if it's going to clear. I've been through that. I've been through where we have records with big artists, and then they don't clear. You don't make the album. Like, you don't know how deflated that is to have a song that can't come out. Listen, it all depends on how you feel, man. Because I chop when it's necessary. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes I chop, sometimes I don't chop. It depends on the sound that I want to have. But sometimes samples are just so pretty, man. Like, this is like, why would I chop this? There's no point in sampling, chopping that up, man. That's clean. You know what I mean? I'm glad y'all asking questions tonight. Y'all talking tonight, man. Let me find out. I gotta come in on the weekdays. Yeah, it's way too much. It's way too much resistance in trying to sample stuff, and I see guys digging, and I'm like, man, you guys are still willing to, take the risk of that. But so how would you take some? Sky is asking like, how would I take that and layer the drums with FL if I wanted to? What you would do in FL is when you start out with your regular track, what you would do is you would just drag the sample into one of those tracks, right? And then um, you would use Edison to basically decide where you want your sample, or you can use the fruity slicer, and you can kind of trigger your samples how you want to trigger them, and then you would just put it into FL and just loop it there in FL by looking at the tempo, and then triggering it for certain set of bars, and then you import you drag your kicks and your hi hats and your snares, and then you just kind of write your patterns out. How much do I add to that? Well, I'm about to add some strings to it, and then I'm about to change the arrangement on it slightly, right? So let's get the strings down. All right. Let's do that, right? All right, so now we got that laid down, and what we're going to do is we're gonna bring that down in the mix a little bit, right? So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just name this the hook real quick, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy this over into a new sequence, and we're gonna call this the verse, right? We're gonna mute the strings. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna trigger it like that to make it different. All right? We're gonna trigger it again. Right? One more time. And then we're gonna let it play out. So you see what we did now? So now what we did is we used the sample to re-trigger it, to just kind of create a little bit of differentiation for the verse versus the hook. And it doesn't take much, right? So I didn't need to chop it. I just need to re-trigger it at certain places to make it do what I want it to do, to kind of give me something that feels a little bit different to the ear. Hold on, I got some more questions coming in. So give me 1 second. So that's all the loop. Yes, that is all the loop. Now, what you could do in here too now, don't sleep. Right? You can actually take this sample and you can do stem separation now, right? And we can try to separate these sounds and see what it gives us. And if it gives us to say if it separates the bass good, then we can separate the bass and we have more control over it. You know what I mean? It just all depends on how you feel and how much you want to put into it. Rob Ulch is asking me, how do I stay dedicated to go live every night? Jesus Christ. Let me tell you something. Listen, if you would have asked me about going live 5 years ago, 2 years ago, if you would have said, hey, I need you to go live every night, I would have told you, man, yo, get the F out of here, yo. Like, get out of here. Like, no, never. I could never do something like that. I never really thought I was the person that can do it. I'm not going to hold you. But what we're trying to do here, and I think with the whole illustration of this live is to let folks know, like, listen, the way that we make it in the music industry is through consistency. Like, that's the way that we make it through the industry. We have to be consistent. We have to be consistent in delivering. And one, you have to make music. That's the first thing. Like, if you don't make music, you don't got nothing to move, right? Two, you have to make the content behind the music. You got to do that, right? And then we got to show up. So, you know, if I'm here and you're showing up to watch, listen, man, you know, mission accomplished. If you're learning something, mission accomplished, man. You know, and I want people to realize, like, listen, man, we could do this thing, but let's show up and let's get it done. Listen, man, people say it's easy for you to say, man, but it's not. Like, I got 2 kids. You know how it is. You know what I'm saying? I have the life that I'm here with, you know, with the family life. You got to do what I got to do here, you know. So, you know, we're married. You got to do the stuff that you got to do. And, you know, you got to make the time. You know what I mean? Like, you make the time for your family. You got to make the time for your business. And you got to treat your music like it's a business. You know, and I think that's the thing that I want folks to realize, too. It's like, listen, it's not a glorified hobby. It doesn't have to be that. All right, so look here. So let's find what the let's see what the stem separation did for us. So it separated the bass line for us. So what we could do, we could separate that. Let's normalize it, make it louder. Get us a little bit more sound on that. Make the fidelity louder. Right? Hold on a second. Hold on, move this over. PJ80. Alright. Let's see the other part. Let's see how the other part sounds. And that came out good right there, see? It did good removing that. So look what we can do now. All right, I got the bass line by itself, and then I got this part by itself. So now what we do is we play them together. Listen. what I may have to do now is I may have to go back and I may have to put these parts in individually, and then it gives us more control over this. It's going to give us a lot more control over this. Yeah, man, don't be afraid to post on no IG, man. Don't be afraid to post your music. I'm looking at the camera and say that. Don't be afraid to post your music. Listen, there's a lot of people out here that are afraid to post their music because they're concerned what people are going to say about what's happening. Listen, we have to post the music because if we don't post it, we will not get the data that we need to improve. That's the reality of it, is that if we think about what we have the ability to do now, which we never had the ability to do. Right? Before, we'd have to work to get the record deal, to put the music out, to then get the data. Right? So now you had to go through the process of getting the record deal, creating everything, then putting it out, and then if the market didn't like it and rejected you, then you lose your record deal. Now you don't have to worry about that. What happens is this, is that you can come out now, you can put your music out, and you can keep testing the market, keep seeing what people like. And this is what the algorithm is meant to do. It's meant to find your ideal audience, but it requires you to be consistent in order for that to happen. So if I'm not posting every day, or if I'm not going live, or if I'm not posting, it's not going to find the people that's going to be interested in what I'm doing. It's just not. The system is designed to find what the people are interested in watching. But we have to be on it long enough to show the system that we're serious about creating what we're creating. So what I'm going to continue to suggest to people is this. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. I tell you, don't be afraid. And I say that as an old guy talking to a lot of you younger guys. Like, listen, don't be afraid of this thing. It's a necessary evil. And I know people might say, well, I don't really like socials. It's a necessary evil. But the question is, how do you find your community if you're not posting? All of these people that I've met in the last 40 days, whether it be Santana, whether it be Rich Harmon, shout out to y'all, Born Ready. Like all these people that I'm seeing in the lives now, if Ashkin and these guys that I'm seeing in the live over the last month, I would have never have known these people. You know what I'm saying? And these people are showing up, and these people are supporting. These people are learning. These people are moving their craft forward. They're asking questions, and they're doing what they need to do to start to really realize their dream. This is the real thing, man. The music industry is not what it used to be, where it's like, okay, you're only going to have, certain Beyoncés, or you're only going to have certain Kanye West. That's once in a lifetime talent, man. You know what I'm saying? But then you have a whole slew of artists that are making their careers, that are going on shows, that are touring, that are selling merchandise and stuff. And you may be like, I never heard of them. But they're making their living, and they're living their dream. You know what I'm saying? It's because they're doing it for their audience. They found their tribe. They find their community. They work to build that up. And that's what they do. And these people make a living from their art. So it's possible. The question is, who's willing to put in the time? Who's willing to invest in themselves? Who's willing to spend their money? That's another thing. People don't want to spend their own money. Like, I had to spend tens of thousands of dollars for my first studio. Imagine doing that in the 90s. Tens of thousands of dollars in the 90s? Like, late 90s? Like, where'd the money come from? I maxed out them cards. Like, that's what I did, you know what I mean? I maxed out my Sam Ash card. I maxed out my Guitar Center card. I maxed out, any card that I got when I was coming out of school. I maxed them all out. You know what I'm saying? And I said, okay. I had a job. I was working, for an attorney's office when I was in college. You know what I'm saying? And my cousin, shout out to me, rest in peace to my cousin that put me onto that, because that attorney didn't have to hire me. I was straight from the hood. Like, he had to hire me. He just said, hey, you can use a computer. I was like, yeah, I can use a computer. You know what I'm saying? It's only because I was computer savvy. But if he looked at me exterior, I had my Timbs on. I was just like, they would have hired me. They thought I was trying to rob the place. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, it's like you got to get some opportunities. You take your money that you make from your job, you fund your dream, man. It's that simple, man. You fund your dream, man. That's very simple. You buy what you got to buy, you do what you got to do. But look what you got now. You got a resource. You got a person that been through it. You got a person that you can ask questions. You got a person that literally done went through this thing. You know what I'm saying? I've been in the Source magazine. I've been in Double XL magazine. You know what I'm saying? I have a album that was Grammy nominated. You know, I've been through the whole thing. So like people don't necessarily have that type of resource. So that's what we're providing when we do these lives. Yeah, asking and saying there's an audience for everything. That's real, and that's what people have to realize. Don't worry about virality. Virality is what tricks people into thinking that your music ain't that people ain't listening or people ain't watching. Don't fall for it, and then also don't fall for certain platforms. Certain platforms are not dedicated to growing. Right? IG, it's not dedicated to growth. Like, you just be honest. And I'm saying that from a person that has verified IG, verified Facebook, verified Twitter account from Twitter was incepted. We had a verified account. You know what I'm saying? So we've been on Twitter for more than 10 years. You know, verified. Certain things will grow. Certain platforms don't grow. Twitter, you have to engage a certain type of way. X, in order for your platform to grow, you have to engage in conversation. You have to be, in certain types of things. You have to know how these systems work. YouTube is different. TikTok is different. Um, Instagram is different. Facebook is different. They're all different. You have to know the nuances of each platform. You have to know which one works in terms of ads. Some, like right now, Facebook, if you put in text, that's getting more reach than reels. It just depends, man. Like, you have to be able to be very versed in what's happening and watching what's going on. Yeah, don't get discouraged, man. East Antenna telling you what it is. Boricua brother 70. What's up, my man? That's my guy. So let's break this sample up a little bit, man, because you see what we did now. Let's add a little parametric EQ on that. Clean that up. Turn down the highs a little bit. All right, that sounds pretty good. Go add a little reverb to it. Yeah, we're here every night, man. We're here every night, man. I got on a little late tonight, but we're here. So you're gonna put this as a sample bass line. And listen. I'm only separating it because somebody was asking me, can we separate it? And I wasn't considering it, but now that we're doing it, I'm like, we're doing it, so we're separating everything. We're gonna have a little bit more control over it. It'll make the beat go a little bit better. So let's go. Let's do it. You know what I mean? Yo, shout out to everybody that's sending gifts. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat. Appreciate y'all, man. Y'all live tonight, man. Appreciate y'all. On a Monday night at that. Can I reverse it? Yeah, I can reverse it, but I don't think it's gonna sound the way it needs to sound. That's something different. That's something different. That's going to be something different. This is going to sound crazy when we finish with it. Alright, so this is what we're going to do now, right? So we're going to mute the main one. And now what we're going to do is we're going to replay this one here. Rocking, right? That's rocking now. So look. All right, so now we're gonna copy this track again. Make sure this is right here. Pad mixer. Alright, so now this is gonna be our high pass filter. Cause you see what we did is so now let's go. We gotta just bring this down a little bit. I hear a little distortion. Wrong track. Hold on a second. Qverse is asking, how do I get the video set up like this? And that's on TikTok. Listen, if you go to the YouTube page, and I'd always suggest everybody to go to the YouTube page, especially if you want to be able to look straight into this screen and see it bigger. I would suggest to go to YouTube. And then what happens is I'm using Streamlabs. So what you can't see is that there is a camera up here. You know, I have an arm that's connected to my desk in front of me, and then I have a secondary arm that's connected to the side right here. That's what you get this angle from. And then what we have to do in Streamlabs is we stream in different iterations on different platforms. So for example, on TikTok you're going to see a vertical, right? And then, of course, like on Twitch and Kick and those things, you're going to see a horizontal. I could also do a vertical on YouTube, but I prefer to do the horizontal. But yeah, we're using Streamlabs, and then I'm using a program called Camo Studio that helps to give me the overhead shot simultaneously with the front shot. And it's a little bit of a delay. I'm trying to still figure that out. But hey, we got to start somewhere so that we can do something versus trying to get it perfect, right? So listen, we got our verse, and I got to go back to our hook now. We got to go back to our hook. And what we're going to do here now is I'm going to mute this sample again, and then I'm going to trigger the bass line by itself again. Now we're going to go back to the high pass. We're going to trigger that in there. One more time. What's wrong with me, man? I'm slow today. If I make sense. Yeah, I've been saying that a lot. I have to stop saying it. If that makes sense. If that makes sense. I keep repeating that. If that makes sense. But you had a dope name. I think you said Art Rated. Is it Art Rated that you said? If it was Art Rated, I think I'm going to use that as the name for this track. And listen, I'm in the midst of setting up a exclusive Patreon for the group. And what I'm going to probably wind up doing there is that we do have a music business podcast, and I'm considering just putting the music business podcast there exclusively, and then along with templates, mock contracts, what else? Everything that I use to conduct my music business. So I'm going to put everything there so that, invoice templates, contract templates, lawyer email templates, vendor access templates, everything that I use to collect my money, everything that I use to correspond with the attorneys. Like all of those things that we use in a day-to-day business, I'm going to make sure that I put behind that Patreon for those who really want to get into this thing and really want this thing to work. And then, of course, we'll have some of the, we'll still be doing the lives, but then I'll do another portion of the lives behind there so that I can really talk more free. Can't really talk free on these platforms. These folks like to ban people and do all kind of weird stuff. It's a list of known shysters. Listen, listen. There's a lot of shysters, man. There are so many people that are shysty in this business, and I just say that people are like that in this business because you know folks uh, comes from means that they didn't have anything, and the mentality is, I have to get stuff, make up for what I didn't have when I was growing up or whatever, something like that. It's a very strange thing. Daisy Dukes, I can't find the name that you listed. Can you send it to me again? It seems like I can't go back and it's gone in the chat. It's gone back too far, whatever. I don't know what it is. Shout out to everybody that's still in the live, man. It's late. It's midnight on a Monday night. She said it's art name art rated. We're gonna say this project as art rated. I like that. It's different. This is art rated. I think I need one more part of the verse. So if I make a beat that I like, what's the next step? Oh well, what happens is in most cases, we're gonna do what I'm doing now, which is we're gonna sequence it. All right, put it in song mode. Then we're gonna export it. And then once I export it, then I send it over to my partner. We're going to go through a little bit of checks and balances. A lot of times what people don't know behind the scenes that me and him have a check and balance system. So I might do a track. I send it to him. He does a track. He send it to me. He might be like, yo, I'm going to add this. I'm going to add that. Send me the stems, blah, blah, blah. Vice versa. And then we try to work from there. After we do that, and then after we kind of go through our internal check, we might post a little bit of content on it to see what the temperature is, right? So we might post a beat just to see who what the temperature is on that. And that's why I'm telling people to post their music, right? So we post our music to kind of see what the temperature is. We want data. We want to know who responds to it, who likes it, who says, right? So in some cases, I've had situations where we post music and then certain guys will like it. Might be a Lloyd Banks or this guy or that person. They like that. They like the music, whatever. So if they start to like stuff and show interest in it, then what we do is we say, we reach out and say, what you working on? They may be working on something. All right, we'll put that as part of the beat pack. We send that out. And then that's part of the game where we're posting our stuff to see what it is, seeing what people really like. If people really respond to certain music, then what we do is we take those songs, we'll put them to the side and say, hey, those songs need to be part of a particular beat pack. There are people like this one, this one, this one, this one. All right. Then we start listening to, okay, which artist do we feel like this is gonna fit? All right. So we make our list. Who is it gonna fit? All right. Now we got to find out who's working, right? Because just because they may work for Wiz Khalifa, it don't mean he's working on his album right now. And that'd be a lot of the problem too. It's like, okay, what part? Who's working and who's in the middle of recording? Who do you have access to, right? Because you might have a record for such and such, but you might not have access. So now you got to go through the process of finding, okay, how do I get access? Do I have to go through a manager? Do I have to go through an A&R? Who I gotta find? So, you got to kind of go through the process of, of not only making the music, but now we got to find out who it goes to. And then also, there might be certain songs that I might say, hey, I want somebody independent to jump on this, right? I want this song for an independent artist. So when that happens, I say, okay, I want these tracks for certain independent artists. Those are the ones that I'm going to put on the website, and then we're going to put limited licensing for that. Like, okay, who's an artist out here that's willing to work, who wants to be able to work with us, directly, So we put that out on the website, and then now the people who want to work with us directly, then what they'll do is they'll go through the process of purchasing the license. Then they'll go through the process of recording their song. Then once they record their song, then of course they'll send it back to us with feedback. And then, we might say, hey, fix this hook, change this, do that. All right. Once we get it to where we want to get it to, now we have to decide how we want to get it to be released. So then we'll work with the artist on how you want to release it. You do a video to it, how you want to do it. You want to do a lyric video, what you want to do. And then what happens is we get behind you to support it. See if we can get you to the finish line. And let's see what happens. What I'm saying? At the end of the day, you got to keep putting music out. You got to keep seeing how it works. Yeah, Ashton, like again, man, you like YouTube will send you the stuff that you love. You know what I mean? Like that's the whole point of the algorithm. The algorithm is to feed you what's going to keep you on the platform, and I think people have to make sure that they realize that. Rob Ultras asked me, what do I use to hook up the audio from the MPC for the lives? I'm using a Scarlett. I think that's is it a 616 or is it 816? Let me make sure. I sometimes forget. Yeah, Scarlett 816. So I'm using that, and what I'm doing is I'm running the main outputs into my line 1 and 2, and then I'm taking this microphone and I'm running it into my MPC. So my MPC basically is giving me the gain on my microphone where I could put a little bit of effects for it, and then I run it back into that, and then I run it into Streamlabs. When you say watch the turnaround, Ilian, what do you mean when you say watch the turnaround? Okay, I think we're almost ready. listen, it's not even embarrassment. Those people don't know you, brother. Like, that's the thing about the internet, man. These people don't know you, man. It's the internet, man. Yo, if you realize, like, listen, like, real talk, the internet is not a real place, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta let people realize that too. Like, it's not a real place, man. Like people let the internet kind of, dictate how they move in real life, man. Like people say stuff on the internet because they can hide behind the screen and say stuff behind the internet. If you see me in real life, you wouldn't even say that stuff to me. Like, you wouldn't even think to say it to me. You look at me, you be like, yo, he's 200 something plus pounds. No, I ain't gonna say that to him. I'm not gonna say that to him. He looked like he could put me through a wall. Like, they're not gonna say that. It's just the internet, man. Internet made people feel emboldened, and people like to tear other people down, and they like to say things because, they know, like, that's what it's meant to do. You know what I mean? So, look, don't worry about what these folks saying on the internet, man. You know what I'm saying? And listen, you know what you got the power to do? You got the power to block. If people is on your feed and they're not giving you the right energy, block them, bro. I ain't gonna hold you. Like, don't even go back and forth. Like, don't get into this thing where you're trying to convince people of anything. It's 2025. If you realize you can't convince people of much anymore. It's not like back in the days where you and I could have an intelligent conversation and we could say, hey, I can influence somebody to change their mind. If you notice now, people pick a side and they stay there. People, even if you present people with facts, people they don't want to hear the facts. They've chosen their side, and that's where they want to stay. So what you have to do is you can't waste your time with those type of folks. Like, you can't waste your time trying to convince people. You're trying to convince them of what? Like, what we trying to convince them of? Like, you can't waste your time with that. So what I encourage everybody to do is listen. Don't be afraid to post your music. Don't be afraid to be online. Like, we don't care what nobody say. You know what I'm saying? For right now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to put the music out there, and we're trying to look for constructive criticism. If it's not constructive criticism, if it's not constructive feedback, if someone can't tell me, like, if someone say, hey, Jug, I don't like that. All right, why you don't like it? I don't like it because maybe the tempo is too fast, or maybe I think that the sample might need to slow down, or maybe I think you might need to turn the bass up or down. Or maybe that sample has a certain part of it that sounds out of tune. That's constructive criticism. We're supposed to live off that and thrive off of that, because what you've done is you've told me why you don't like it and you told me how I can improve it. If you're not going to tell me how to improve it, then we don't need your feedback, right? If you're not going to tell me how I can make it better, we don't want your feedback. If you're not going to tell me how I can win, we don't want your feedback. If you just got feedback that just telling me that you don't like it just to tear it down, but you don't got feedback to make me better, we don't need that, right? So the key here is to give you feedback so you can get better. The key is not to be so bullheaded, of course, that you can't, get better and that you can't grow. We don't want that. We want our music to improve. Like, that's the main thing. We want our music to improve. So yes, there is going to be certain levels of criticism, but you have to be able to weed through the noise. There are certain people on the internet that just want to tear down and troll. You have to be able to make sure that you can differentiate those who really want you to get better and those who really just hate your guts because you're doing something that they can't do. So, let's play this beat. Okay, so what we want to do here is we want to go from this verse. now what I need to do here is I need to okay. So now what I need to do here is I need all right. Appreciate you too, my brother. Be safe. I know it's late. I'm almost done here. All right. So now what I need to do is I need to I did that, and then I need to do another. What's this here? I need to copy this hook here. I'm gonna copy this and call this one with the tag. I'm gonna add the tag on this, and I think we're done.
Arkatech. Arkatech Beatz.
All right, let me see what we got going here. Chris Cali, what up? So let's get this song mode going. We're gonna do a new song. It's called Art Rated. Shout out to Daisy Dukes. The song is 78 BPMs. We need to make sure we have the BPMs on that, so we're gonna do 78 BPMs on this. And I need the key on the sample. Key is E minor. And you need all of that when you're going to name your beat. Shout out to everybody that's in the live, shared the live. Thomas, what's up, man? Let's add the first part of the song in here. And we're going to add, hold on. It's Art Rated. We're doing the... Alright. Then we're doing Art Rated verse. Then we're doing Art Rated verse part 2. Then we're doing the Art Rated hook again. Then we're doing the Art Rated first. We're gonna do the second part of the verse. Then we're back to the hook again. And I think we should be good. Yes, guys. See you tomorrow, man. Be safe.
Arkatech Beatz.
Robert's asking how important is the beat tag. Listen, and when in this day and age where some guys forget to put your credits on, sometimes the beat tag is all you're gonna have, and you gotta hope that they don't remove that. You know what I mean? So. Be tagging all your beats though.
Arkatech Beatz.
Something different here. Where's the verse at? Okay, let's try that now. Got it. All right. So, yeah. If I send the stems, can they remove the tag? Yes, they can remove the tag, and most times they will, because some artists are being, real petty, and they don't want your tag in the record, right? But look, listen. I've gone to some lengths in some cases where we're doing our producer agreement. We put into it that we want our producer tag to remain, and we put it in writing, so you can't take out our producer tag, because what happens is that some artists are they're not very good about submitting the metadata to where you get your producer credit. So if you're not going to get your producer credit inside of the credits of like Spotify and stuff, we need to find a way to make sure that somebody knows we did the record. And the only way to do that is through a producer tag. Remember, what's happening is that your music is going out there, but it has to be promoted so that you can get business to come back to you, right? If you don't have a tag on it, how does the business come back to you? The artist is not always going to tag you and say who produced it, because, again, people are petty. They don't want to give you that promotion. They don't want to make sure that you can live. And that's part of the drama that we have with a lot of today's artists, is that, listen, man, it's a two-headed monster, producer and artist. We work better together. So, a lot of times they don't want to share, the accolade. Like, okay, here goes my new record. People want to know who produced it. Tag them. So that's the issue. So let's listen to this beat to make sure that we're good before we export it.
Arkatech Beatz.
I think we're good. All right, we're good. Let's export this. This is art rated 78 BPMs E minor. We're going to export this as an MP3. Export it as a 320 MP3. We're going to add an audio tail of 10 seconds so we get a little bit of that reverb at the end because it does end abruptly and it doesn't have a fade. I'm going to go into my MP3 folder. It's going to be 78. Art rated, I'm sorry, by Arkatech Beatz. Name your beats with your name in it. Put it in the title. And put the BPM, 78. Put the tempo in it, beats per minute. And then put the key, which is E minor. Then we're going to export it. And we're good to go. Ash, can have a good night, man. Be safe. And as we export it, man, we're about to ready to get out of the live. Listen, man, I appreciate everybody that's been watching the live, everybody that's been sending the gifts. I appreciate that, man. Like, you know, to be honest, the way that the gifts work, the gifts seem to help TikTok push your live. So I guess with the more likes and the more followers and the more viewers and the more gifts, then it shares your live to a larger audience. So, you know, so I appreciate everybody that's helping to spread the lives, share the lives, and liking the lives. So this is the beat that we did tonight. It's called Art Rated. It's 78 BPMs in E minor. What just happened? Hold on a second. Did I solo it? I sure did. That's not good. Let's export it again because it may basically have exported nothing. Is that art ready? Art rated. Yeah, let's overwrite that. I would have been mad as hell because I had the track soloed. It would have exported nothing. Rob Ultra, I appreciate you, man. I'm glad, man. I'm glad. Anything if you picked up anything from the lives, man, I appreciate that. And listen, that's what we're here to do, man. We're here to get better every night, right? Even for myself, like it's to get better. Like, you know, I have to push myself to make sure that I'm not doing the same things push myself to learn new functionality, and the new things that I learn, share it with y'all. You know what I mean? Like that's really the name of the game, is learning, and then as we learn, as I learn, I share it with you, and same thing with everybody in the chat. They're sharing it with each other. So whatever you might pick up, you share it, man. And sharing resources will make us grow.
Arkatech Beatz.
We'll be back here tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Or 9-ish. Between 9 and 10, you know what I mean? I try to get on it as quick as I can, appreciate that, Daisy. And we did this one last night. It was called Superior Swag.
Arkatech Beatz.
beat is called Superior Swag. We did it last night. Shout out to everybody that's in the live, man. About to call it a night. Make sure y'all stay safe out there, man. Peace.